Today we're talking about passports. Why are some passports stronger than others, and what does passport strength even mean? The answer to why visa-free travel is so unequal around the world has everything to do with economics, politics, and a little bit of history. So if you've ever wondered why passport power is so unevenly distributed around the world and where you are on the list, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Philip, and thanks to my background in business administration and economy, as well as my travels to over 100 countries, I do know a bit about this stuff. So let's talk about passports. First, let's define what we mean by strong passports. Passport strength is usually measured by how many countries you can enter without needing a visa beforehand. The Henley Passport Index is one of the most recognized rankings for this, updating every year based on global visa policies, so that'll be the main source I'll use for this video. At the top of the list, we find countries like Singapore, Japan, or Denmark and Germany, whose citizens can enter around 190 countries visa-free or with visa on arrival. On the other end of the list, we have countries like Afghanistan and Syria, whose passport holders can access fewer than 30 countries without pre-arranged visas. But why is that? Why does a German passport open more doors than one from Pakistan or Nigeria? Well, it all boils down to trust. Let me explain. Some countries that do grant visa-free access to other nations do so because they believe that visitors from other countries won't overstay their welcome or seek asylum or become a financial burden. And that trust is based on a few key factors. The number one reason why some passports are stronger than others is the economy. If there's one thing you take away from this video, it's this. Passport power strongly correlates with GDP per capita, which is the average economic output per person in a country. In simple terms, the wealthier a country is per citizen, the stronger its passport tends to be. And here's why. Countries with a higher GDP per capita usually have higher living standards, meaning their citizens have less incentive to illegally stay in another country, while those from poorer nations often see migration as a path to better opportunities. This makes other countries more comfortable, allowing them entry without requiring a visa process. Take Switzerland, for example. It has one of the highest GDPs per capita in the world, and Swiss citizens can travel almost anywhere freely. Now compare that to Afghanistan, which has one of the lowest GDPs per capita. Many Afghans seek better opportunities abroad, which means other countries are more cautious about letting them in without a visa screening. So if you were born in a country where jobs are scarce, wages are low, and political instability makes life unpredictable, the idea of moving to a more stable and wealthier country is naturally attractive. And this isn't at all about luxury, it's about surviving and education and a chance at a better life. Many wealthier countries know this, of course, and try to manage migration through visa controls. They don't want to open their borders entirely because, historically, a large number of migrants arriving without paperwork permits or financial resources can put pressure on social services. For example, welfare systems. Many countries provide healthcare, unemployment benefits, and housing assistance. If too many people arrive without being able to support themselves financially immediately, it creates financial strain on the country and its people. And then there's job markets, because a sudden influx of workers can create competition, especially job competitions in lower wage industries. Some countries worry that this could lead to lower wages or increased unemployment among local workers. And then there's infrastructure and public services. Schools, hospitals, public transport, and other stuff can become overwhelmed if a country's immigration policies don't align with the capacity to integrate newcomers. This is why countries with a high GDP per capita like the US, Canada, or Germany impose stricter visa requirements for those coming from poorer nations. It's not about discrimination, it's about controlling migration in a way that doesn't burden their economy or their people. By the way, if you've gotten any value out of this video so far, please hit that like button, and if you'd like to see more videos like this on economic topics and self-development, do consider subscribing as well. Thank you very much. Another huge factor is political instability. Countries that are politically stable tend to have better passports because other countries see them as reliable and safe. A stable government means consistent policies, low corruption, and lower chance of sudden crises leading to mass migration. Let me tell you why that matters. Imagine you're a country considering whether to let visitors in from two different nations. One country has a stable government, a low crime rate, and a track record of its citizens following visa rules. The other country has ongoing conflicts, economic instability, and a history of visa overstays. Who would you let in without a visa? Political instability creates uncertainty. For example, Scandinavian countries like Norway and Denmark are known for political stability, and their passports rank among the strongest in the world. On the flip side, if a country is experiencing conflict, extreme poverty, or facing authoritarian rule, people are more likely to use tourism visas as a loophole to escape permanently. That's why nations with unstable governments like Afghanistan, Syria, or Sudan have the weakest passports. Other countries just don't want to take the risk of a one-way trip. Also, a country's diplomatic relationships affect how strong its passport is. For example, Japan, Singapore, and Germany have strong passports because they have good international relations and stable economies. Countries with sanctions, however, or strained diplomatic ties like Iran or Cuba face severe travel restrictions because other nations don't want to deal with potential security risks. So a passport really isn't just a piece of paper. It's a reflection of a country's economic power, political stability, and trustworthiness in the eyes of the world. Diplomacy plays a major role too. Countries that maintain good relationships with other countries tend to have better passports. This is why EU passports are among the most powerful. They have agreements in place with each other and with many other nations. Another great example of this is the United Arab Emirates. A few decades ago, the UAE passport wasn't anything special. But thanks to aggressive diplomacy and trade deals, the UAE has skyrocketed in passport rankings, allowing its citizens visa-free access to more and more countries. Meanwhile, some other countries impose strict visa requirements on each other because of political disputes. Take the US and Iran, for example. They don't have the best relationships, so US citizens need a visa to visit Iran and vice versa. Same with Armenia and Azerbaijan, for example. But visa-free access is not just about economy and political stability, it's also about agreements. Many countries negotiate visa waivers as part of trade deals or diplomatic arrangements. For example, the Schengen Agreement allows citizens from 27 European countries to travel freely within the Schengen area. No passport needed and not even a control point. Even for citizens from other countries, the Schengen area is seen as one visa zone. All thanks to that one agreement. Similarly, the US has the Visa Waiver Program, which lets citizens of select countries visit without a visa for up to 90 days. On the other hand, some countries' passports remain weak because their governments really haven't prioritized negotiating visa agreements or struggle with meeting the security standards required for the visa waiver programs. So unfortunately, the reality is that the passport you're born with strictly determines your travel freedom. Not everyone is lucky enough to be born with a powerful passport, but for those who can afford it, there is a shortcut: buying a second passport through citizenship by investment. Instead of waiting years for naturalization or not even being eligible for it in the first place, some countries allow you to fast-track citizenship by making a large financial contribution, either through government donation, real estate investment, or by purchasing government bonds. So where can you buy a passport? Several countries, quite a few of them in the Caribbean, offer CBI, citizenship by investment programs that grant citizenship in exchange for money within a few months. Some of the most well-known ones include St. Kitts and Nevis, which requires at least $250,000 as a government donation or a $400,000 real estate investment. Do keep in mind that these rates change a lot and just recently went up by a lot. Dominica, one of the most affordable options with citizenship available for as little as $100,000. Antigua and Barbuda requires a $100,000 donation or $200,000 investment in real estate. All of these passports provide visa-free travel to Europe's Schengen zone, the UK, and many other countries, making them especially attractive for people who come from nations with weaker passports. So there are three main reasons why people choose to get a citizenship by investment. Number one, of course, visa-free travel. Some nationalities face endless visa applications and rejections, while a CBI passport allows hassle-free travel. Number two could be tax benefits. Many CBI nations have zero income tax, making them attractive to entrepreneurs and investors. You don't have to live in those places, but especially for expats or US citizens that have a citizenship-based taxation, it does make sense to relocate somewhere to not have to pay taxes in their home country anymore. And reason number three could be a backup plan. Political instability or economic downturns can make a second passport a lifeline for those needing an escape option. A great real-life example of this is the Yes Theory video where Amar, who was born in Egypt, went through the process of acquiring a St. Kitts and Nevis passport. His Egyptian passport severely restricted his travel freedom, meaning he was super limited compared to the people around him, and also he had to face consequences when going back to Egypt. So he explored the CBI route to gain visa-free access to more countries and be able to go back to Egypt. That video shows just how simple yet expensive this process can be, and for how many people the ability to travel freely is worth the high price tag. Now, citizenships by investment are legal, but highly controversial. Critics argue that it creates an unfair system where only the rich can afford to buy travel freedom. Also, these systems make it easier for criminals and corrupt officials to exploit these programs to launder money or evade justice. As a result, countries like the UK or the European Union also have pressured some CBI nations to tighten regulations or even shut down their programs. They threaten countries like St. Kitts and Nevis to remove their visa-free access to close the loophole where people get visa-free access to the UK or Schengen area that without a CBI passport wouldn't even get a visa. Alright, so to recap the video real quick, a strong passport means more visa-free travel options. The biggest factor in passport strength is a country's wealth, or the GDP per capita. Political stability, diplomatic relations, and visa agreements also play a huge role, and some people acquire second passports through investment to gain more freedom. If you now want to know why I personally have 2 German passports, click here to watch the video on that. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.